Why am I crying all the time? Why am I angry all the time? Why am I so moody? Why am I so upset? Why do I not want to be around anybody, but then I feel so lonely? What is happening to me? In today's video, I want to talk about grief. The grief that we experience in our 20s. And I think it explains a lot of the emotions we go through in our 20s, a lot of the ups and downs, a lot of the melancholy, the moodiness, the anger, the resentment, the shame. So first, I want us to distinguish between sadness and grief, which is very hard to do because at times they can feel very similar. The sadness that decorates our youth often stems from what we could not have and what we could not do. I'm sad that today did not go as planned, but I still have the chance for tomorrow to go the way I wanted it to. I am sad that I didn't get that award or that opportunity or that scholarship, but I can still try to move forward. I'm sad that I never got to sing when I was younger, but I can try to learn how to sing now. So as long as the potential still exists and we are able to move on by our belief in our possibilities and our steady growth, and we take that to heart and we keep moving forward. However, aging and actualizing our potential comes at a price, because to come to have is to come to lose. Life is always boundless in that way. Slowly as we age out of youth, right? Slowly as we leave our childhood, we go into adolescence, and then we go into our 20s, we come to know a new emotion, and that is grief. And grief is a unique emotion because it stems from loss, from what once was and now will never be. At times it mimics sadness, but at other times it morphs into anger, resentment, melancholy, deep envy, even apathy. And I don't think the first time we experience grief is in our 20s. I think adolescence is a remarkable period of grief, right? Young children are now awakened to life and some of its harsh realities, some of the physical realities, uncontrollable and pervasive changes in the body. But I think in our 20s, we go through another stage of grief that is not well talked about, is not well documented, is not well respected even. I think it's because our 20s have been made to seem like this huge, glorious moment where we become all powerful, so intelligent, so refined, so worldly, so knowing, so free, liberated. That's the imagery of it. The reality of it is quite far from that. In reality, we are experiencing so many losses. First, we experience a loss of friendship, right? We move from high school into college, we lose those ties. From college, we move to our first job or graduate school, we lose those ties. From then on, we keep changing careers, we change countries, keep losing friends that were once ours and we once hoped would stay ours. And the disillusionment happens in our 20s when we realize, no, I cannot hold on to all these people. There's nothing wrong with the relationship. There's nothing wrong with them. In fact, I quite like them. I love them, but I cannot hold them. They are not mine to hold. That is a grief that is so characteristic of our 20s. That we will continue experiencing for the rest of our life. And the difficult part of our 20s is coming to accept it and expect that grief. We are also starting to grieve our dreams. We are entering the workforce and realizing that dreams take much more financial support than we ever have received and may ever receive. Maybe we suffered a life-changing injury and we can no longer pursue our athletic dreams or a specific occupation anymore. Maybe we had dreams about climbing to the top of a certain company or a certain industry, and we are cut loose or pushed out. Maybe we just had to pick a fork in the road appeared before us, and we were able to pursue both interests up until then, and we were forced to make a choice and forced to say goodbye to a part of ourselves. Maybe we did get to start our dream and go on that pathway when we were younger, and we soon realized this is actually not for me. I have the wrong disposition. I have the wrong habits. I no longer have this interest, or this job is performed in such a way different than what I've conceived, different than what I believed, and it is no longer compatible with my being or who I am or have become. And of course, in pursuit of our dreams or in pursuit of our occupations, many of us have to change locales. We have to move countries or travel across several states. With each geographic change, a piece of us is left behind because, again, we are forming ties in those cities, we're forming relationships, and then we have to leave. What once was ours is no longer. We have lost it, and we may never go back there again. And it's the elephant in the room, but everybody knows it. And meanwhile, as we keep going to country, city, destination, we also leave those behind in the first locale that we grew up, in our very first neighborhood, our family, our old friends. Those ties slowly become lost. We begin to grieve relationships too in a new way. This is no longer I am sad because I can no longer, date this person. But we also start grieving just our concepts and beliefs of the relationships we could have or would have. Maybe you get married and you're divorced, and you grieve the fact that you are now divorced. You will never have that marriage, not that first marriage, the same way ever again in your life. Maybe conversely, you grieve that you have not been married, and maybe you will never be married for whatever reason. And even though maybe it's a choice, maybe it's not a choice, you grieve that that you no longer are on this pathway. Maybe you grieve because the person you wanted to spend the rest of your life with, their time came to an end early, and there's no bringing that person back. And sometimes we grieve relationships that did not even have a title or a name. They were not well defined or easy to label, but they touched us. They touched us deeply emotionally, spiritually. And when those ties inevitably are lost, we are left with a grief for something we cannot even begin to explain, for there's no name for it. Grief is understanding that maybe when you were younger, you were multifaceted and there were all these sides to you and all these potentials, and you were able to be an artist and a musician and a scientist and an academic, but also lover, romance. You were able to do all these things and be all these different people. And now in your 20s, you're realizing some of these identities may have to die. You cannot hold all of them in your palm anymore. Either you can't hold them because you're trying to achieve greatness and you cannot achieve greatness in them all, or you can't hold them because you're so busy with life, maybe your family obligations, your school obligations, your financial obligations, that you have to let those parts of yourself go and they may never come back again. They probably will not, and you are grieving that. You grieve the way life used to be constant and predictable when you were young and a child, and people were very protective over you. People made sure that life was very consistent for you. Now you realize life is actually anything but consistent. It is only a series of constant changes. It is, by definition, the ephemeral. And you grieve that. You grieve because life is ephemeral. Nothing truly here is yours to possess. Your body that you used to know is changing. In your 20s, you're going to experience a myriad of health issues. You're going to experience a loss in strength, a loss in mobility, all these things. You will notice changes. Even if you keep yourself in tip-top health, you take care of yourself really well, you will notice changes in your body from 20 to 30 in what you can do and what you can't do, how much you exercise, how late you stay out, how much you can rely on coffee, how much you can do spur of the moment, your skin, your wrinkles, how much water you need, your vision. All those things are changing, and it is a reminder that you are losing parts of yourself that will never come back. The body of a 20 will never come back. The body at a 25 will never come back. 26, 28, all those days have come and gone and they will never be again. And you are very hyper aware and in full control of your faculties to understand the gravity of this. And therefore you are grieving. You are grieving. And so as we age, sadness shifts slightly over time to make space for something that is quieter but heavier, more resolute, and without any end. And that is grief. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I wanted to give space to name something, describe something without feeling like I had to resolve it or present a solution. I think our 20s are really hard because of this grief that we carry, and we have to find a way to come to accept it, make space to hold it, and carry it well with us, So maybe next week we can talk about ways I found to process grief or learn how to carry it with some type of dignity. As Amy said in Little Woman to Lori, I wish she would carry it better. But that is all for now, and I will see you all again. Bye.